Awesome. Welcome to the RTS Podcast, where we explore values, culture, faith, and entrepreneurship to inspire action and create impact. Today, we excited to have Joey Nanai, a leader in construction transformation and a passionate advocate for Pasifika leadership. He does a bit of sales and marketing, and if you haven't listened to before, he's got a podcast called The Pitch. There's a bit of a throwback, Joey? With over 20 years of experience, Joey has driven growth through strategic partnerships, contract optimization and innovation. He also lives in by the Samoan ethos of service, o le ala I le pule o le tautua, and is dedicated to empowering his community. Join us as we discuss how Joey turns challenges into opportunity and leads with purpose. Joey, good to have you on board, bro. How was the introduction for you?
Thanks for having me, brother. That's an amazing introduction, actually.
Awesome.
Really good.
Thank you to my virtual assistant, Chat, and also Preciousness.
There's not many people that bring up the Pitch podcast, so that's good.
I remember hitting you up like a few months ago. I was like, bro, your Pitch podcast. It was actually one of the things that inspired me, because I was trying to find who are other people doing podcasts, and then like, bro, I don't know how I came across. I think I did a Google of you, and then I came upon it, and then I started like listening to all sales pitches. But I think we'll dig deep into that later. But bro, really keen just to learn more about yourself. I didn't mention before that we've kind of in passing chatted here and there over the years, but I know you're a man that has a wealth of knowledge. So, but really keen to unpack who's Joey Nanai and your upbringing, bro.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me on. So there's a lot of ways that I could answer that question. Who am I and what I guess what I bring to life or the world in general. For me, I'm just a Pasifika person who has learned a few things in his life, in different areas of his life, whether they be sales, rugby, coaching, what have you. I guess one way to describe myself would be someone who's constantly learning and trying to apply the values that my parents taught me.
Wow.
Because my parents were my biggest mentors and biggest cheerleaders throughout my life, and the lessons I learned from their stories and their upbringing, those are lessons that I take with me every day, everywhere I go, in conversations, whether it be conversations with just your average Joe blogs on the street whilst you're waiting for a coffee together on the line, or across the table in a board of directors scenario. So for me, I tailor whatever conversations I'm in at the time, but at the same time, I use what I've learned from my mum and dad, who were my biggest superheroes, and they're obviously my forever heroes.
And it's often those stories, right? They really are the foundations of who we are as Pasifika. So were your parents like a part of the migration in the 50s and 60s, or they still in Sa, or what was their journey like era? Did they? Yeah.
Yeah, they both had a different path. So dad was born and raised in Samoa, and mum was actually born in New Zealand at the age of 2, taken away to Samoa by the auntie, who then raised her as her own with her kids. And then later on in life, mum came back at the age of 19 to New Zealand, once she'd lived her life in Samoa, predominantly in the island of Savaii. So, those upbringings that they had, although they were different paths, they led back here to Auckland, New Zealand, where dad was living at the time, and met mum whilst playing rugby for Ponsonby.
So
old man's a Ponsonby man. So he's the reason I went to Ponsonby in the first place, from my old club, Teachers Eastern at the time, which is no longer
Teachers Eastern. Oh, yeah.
So, he was the big reason why I moved over to Ponsonby. I wanted to honor him whilst he was still alive, and let him know that I grew up watching you play for Ponsonby. And
who was his era?
His era was so there was a team in the 60s and 70s that played, and they were a team that they were made up of those migrants who were brought over during the Dawn Raid era.
Wow.
Right? They were brought over to fill up those that employment gap that the government at the time wanted to fill up, and they were predominantly Pasifika people who were brought over for those roles, for those jobs. And Central Auckland had a lot of them living there. So a few of them played for Ponsonby Rugby, and my dad was one of them. And that team actually made history. You know, that team, they to this day hold the record for most points in a game. It was
Who they pump?
169-0. Unfortunately, they pumped my old school, De La Salle. De La Salle Old Boys was the team at De La Salle. So I don't know why, but there was a discrepancy as to why it wasn't made a Guinness World Record at the time.
Oh, really?
But that was the score, 169-0 or 3 or something like that. I think they got 3 to give them the
Said to La Salle, eh? Said to La Salle.
That's that era of La Salle. That era of La Salle. But no, it's nice to know that, you know, that particular team features in Te Papa Museum and
Yeah, that's positive because you know,
Auckland as well.
as a former player of Ponsonby and you know, really proud member of the Ponsonby club, I always think about the different eras, right? And that's one of the OG eras. Yeah. Now I got something to think. You know, that's your dad's era. Wow. And so, mum and dad, where did they meet?
They met at Ponsonby Rugby.
Yeah. One of the
At Ponsonby
socials.
Rugby. Yeah, one of those socials, I guess. And mum had just arrived from Samoa and met with dad, and that was basically her first love outside of living in Samoa.
Wow.
And they stayed together ever since.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's some lessons there for me, you know, in terms of relationships, in terms of making things work, showing a bit of resilience to get through hard times, which they had a lot of together.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of their lessons didn't become real to me until recent times when they both passed in the last few months.
Yeah.
So, you know, I take a lot of what they taught me into life, into conversations, into interactions, and always keep in the back of my mind, you know, what kind of teachings that they give me to handle this situation or that situation, and what would they say?
Yeah.
You know, certain quotes in their lives always resonate with me, and they always come back. Like for Dad, one of the biggest quotes that he had for us kids growing up, especially me: if you lead all the way. Don't just lead for part of the way. Don't just lead and then fall off. Lead something, lead all the way. And I take that into all my leadership opportunities out there. Mum's one was find a way. And basically taught me that, you know, you should be resourceful.
Yeah.
You know, you should be resilient. You should be resourceful, and you should find a way to solve a problem in your life in that moment in time. So I definitely take on those, you know, those quotes that they drilled into us kids growing up.
How many were there?
There were 4 of us. I was the eldest of 4. Mum had or has older child in Samoa that was raised by her cousin in Samoa. She's a year older than me.
Yep.
We still, you know, we still treat her as a sister, but we know that at the same time she wasn't raised with us, so she was raised with her own family. But yeah, so one of 4 kids raised by mum and dad. Most of our life was lived in Favona and Māngere.
Yeah.
My brother and I, Junior, who's the next one after me, he's 5 years younger than me. So when I was 7, we moved out of Greyland in Auckland, Central Auckland, to South Auckland, to Favona. So I think the lesson there for me was, if it wasn't for mum and dad moving us to Favona, I would have led a life of crime. And I would have, and the reason why I say that is because a lot of my family, close family who were left in Central Auckland at the time, they were already going down that path. And unfortunately, as life would have it, you know, they ended up in, you know, the gang life, and to this day, some of them are still in it.
Yep.
And not to say it's all doom and gloom and it's bad and, you know, you shouldn't do it. But for me, I think it saved my life in a way that I would have gone down a life of crime, possibly, you know, ended up in a really bad situation.
And Favona would have been quite a newer area back then, huh?
Yeah, would have been.
What was that like?
Yeah, so Favona has, you know, it's been 40 odd years since we moved there. And right now, as gentrification works, you have one, I guess, demographic of society or an area that turns into a different demographic.
Yeah.
But now it's returned back to the demographic that it was when we moved to Favona back in the day, where you had a lot of different cultures, right? In my upbringing in Favona, it was predominantly Māori and Pasifika, right? So it's turned back to what it was when we first moved there, where a lot of Pākehā were moving out, and the Islanders and the Māori were moving in. So it's gone back to what it was before, kind of where a lot of the central Auckland people, speaker people predominantly, are moving more further and further south through places like Mangere, and I guess that's why
Even now, like Takanini and
like
Papakura.
Takanini. I guess it's why house prices and things like that are going up in those areas, and you never would have thought that would be the case. Going back 10, 20, 30 years ago, you never would have thought that. Holy, $1 million properties in Mangere and Otara. What's going on there?
Yeah.
But it's prime market. Yeah, exactly. It's prime market. So there's a lot of that.
And so, you're alumni of La Salle, and then did you go straight into tertiary after that, or how has education been a big part of where you're at now in terms of your career, or did you keen to hear more about that, bro?
Yeah, massively. So I guess even going back before La Salle, I had been in 3 different primary schools, and I think that helped me more than it hindered me. So St. Joe's Greyland,
Yeah, St. Joe's,
Pavona Primary,
or in the primary.
and St. Joe's Otahu.
Mm.
So
So you got
those
Catholic?
Oh,
Or Catholic or
no,
faith-based
no,
schools?
yeah, faith-based schools. But I guess for my mum at the time, she wanted us to be brought up in the Catholic education system.
Yeah.
Because she was in Catholic education system in Savaii. So she saw the value in it. And, we're Presbyterian, PIC Newton.
Ah, so you guys are from that church?
Yeah, we're from that church. So, although we grew up in the Catholic education system, and we were Presbyterian by faith, by religion, there were a lot of, areas that aligned, and thankfully we had those, the principles of those schools. Saw that, we're all Christians.
Yeah.
Why should we shut them out just because they're Presbyterian?
Yeah.
And I was so glad that, La Salle, for instance, let us in, let me in because I was the eldest, and then my brothers who followed. That education system at La Salle, I couldn't fault it. I had the teachers, I had the learning pathways, I had everything there. It was up to me, the individual, to make the most of that. And we had some great teachers, some great brothers at that school who really led and knew how to gel with the Pasifika community as well. So I felt growing up, that was such a huge influence in my life.
Yeah.
And, the education system at La Salle, I think, has gone better. I've been keeping tabs on it. I'm still involved in a lot of ways at La Salle.
You are La Salle Collegian number, what's your number?
Oh, flip, 1,000 something, I think. One of the earlier ones, I think of 40 something.
That's an important part of like the brotherhood of Catholic schools. Like I come from Catholic. I went to St. Peter's.
Yeah.
And there's something about like the Catholic brotherhood. We think about like pule and that their brotherhood, and that's what's cool about like what La Salle. I come from a family where a lot of them are ex-Lasallians, and they're quite patriotic, right, in their own right. And so, what has since leaving school, high school, what has that brotherhood been like for you? Because you still catch up with the boys every now and then, and how important has that been to you in terms of shaping who you are?
So important. And I'm glad you asked that question. So the brotherhood at La Salle, us old boys, we often describe it as a brotherhood like no other. And the reason why is because not only in the good times when you have reunions and you have things like that, in the tough times, when you reach out to the brotherhood, they really do come in and support, and they do rally that support for you. So, and it's good because, even however many years since we were at school, we've still got that bond. We can still reach out for whatever we want, and there's no shame behind it. It's a brotherhood where we mock each other just like we did at school. the banter's still there. The mocks are still there. I mean, at school, we used to mock people by calling them by their dad's names.
You got any biggest insecurities, right?
We don't do that anymore because a lot of dads have passed. So it's kind of a touchy-feely subject. But yeah, the insecurities were sure. So a lot of us, what we like to call ourselves professional mockers,
Yeah.
we used to go out of our way and find that information. So we'd go to the school office, for instance. Because back in those days, you had a brown envelope that had your school fees, your mum and dad's names and their addresses. And we would, some of us would go to the offices and look for our school fees. But in doing that, we'd go through everyone's mums and dads' names and their addresses. We would take that back to our homeroom classrooms, and then we'd just all it out.
Yeah.
All out everyone's mums and dads' names. They were like in shock. How did you get that info? How did you know that?
It's funny, hey, like, because humor as Pasifika, right, is a really big part in banter, and it's like really important to find that balance where to joke and where not to joke. And sometimes people don't have that right filter, bro. We so from La Salle, what after high school, what was the pathway for you then, bro? What was it?
So from high school, the natural move was to go to uni.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I went straight into work. I went and worked with my mum for a year, and then I went to uni after. I went to AUT.
Yeah.
It wasn't seen as a uni at the time because back when I joined, it was AIT still. So
Yeah.
Auckland Institute of Technology. And then it changed to Auckland University of Technology, 1999 to 2000. So then it became a university, but it didn't feel like a university.
A polytech.
Yeah, polytech basically.
Yeah.
A glorified polytech. But look, it's led to a lot of great things. I studied electrotechnology, which is basically electrical engineering and electronics
Wow.
used into one. And
What's
the reason
trade on that? Like, it's not a Sparky, like engineering.
it's a plethora of things. So you can be basically a technical engineer.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can go and diagnose a sliding door, for instance, that needs electronics to power it. All things mechanical, all things electrical, all things electronic. You were able to do that kind of thing. You were able to program, so C+ programming, that kind of language, coding.
Yeah.
It included everything.
Wow.
Short of computer science degree that you would get from a university.
Oh, and so what made you take off that year? Like,
For me, it wasn't even a financial situation. It was just
experience.
not even an experience. It was just at the time I had nothing to do.
Mm.
So why stay at home when I can go work with my mum and get told off every day and yelled at in front of strangers?
Yeah. So what were you doing with mum? What were you?
So mum worked at a place called Michelin, which is basically a manufacturer / warehouse for female brands like Glassons, Shanton, Hallensteins, Max clothing brands. So they were the ones who were the distributor of those brands, and they were based in town.
Okay.
So textile fashion industry.
Yeah, and that's awesome. There's often like or that's kind of like your gap year, right? And sometimes and I know this because I've been with my other mates and stuff who had taken gap years, but then they jump off the way, see the money, see the dollars in their bank account, and don't jump back into territory. So, what was that like for you? Like, were you was it an easy transition to get back into uni after that, or?
It was hard.
Yeah,
It was actually hard because I saw money.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to move away from, the money coming regularly, which I would have if I went back to uni, which I did. So then I went from earning my own income to relying on government funding, through student allowances and student loans and what have you. So that was a bit of a transition before finding my first real sales role during uni.
Yeah.
So in the summer months, I would go and sell Kirby vacuum machines.
Oh, yeah.
That was my first sales role.
Wow.
Door to door knocking all around West Auckland.
Yeah.
Not the prettiest thing to do, not the best thing to do, but it definitely gave me my stripes in terms of entering the sales industry as a journey.
Yeah, so you have the technical engineering. I don't know what the actual
Yeah.
degree is called, but you kind of traditionally like you learned sales at the same time.
Mm.
And so as you finish your tertiary, what was it? Did you naturally transition into the sales space, or what was that like for you?
Actually, as I did more study, I found a job in the industry.
Doing sales.
So I didn't complete my
Oh,
degree.
oh,
So I was a dropout because I found a role in the industry of electrotechnology. And this was for um, electrical company that
mm,
went around Auckland and serviced electronic
yeah,
components, and especially with regards to doors,
mm,
automatic
yeah,
doors.
yeah.
So all the electronic componentry, I was the one that had to install those, and I had to go and fix them. So all around Auckland, I was doing that. I thought, okay, this is it. This is going to be my career path. This is going to be my career.
Work up the ladder.
Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah.
work up the ladder. This is going to be my career. And then I stumbled across a sales role in the summer, made a ton of money there,
Was
Good
commission
kid.
based.
commission based.
Yeah.
I had to work for everything.
Yeah.
So I had to do my own promoting. I had to do my own lead generating.
Yeah.
I had to do it all. And a lot of it was physical because, they would drop us off early hours of the morning in a van to West Auckland,
Yeah.
drop us off at one spot, come back late at night, pick us up from that same spot.
Yeah, it's not like
The whole time.
it's not like you had Google Ads or any paid ads. It's
Back
straight
in those days, it was
door to door fly
back in
drop.
those days, it was door to door. You had the door slammed in your face. You think in your mind, I know where you live. Why would you do that?
Because like I guess the classic sales technique around door to door cold calling, right? That's all about volume,
Yeah.
right?
about
And so
volume.
did you have like a formula back then around if I do X amount of door knocking, I'll get a turnover of
Yeah. Yeah.
what's your formula?
Yeah. There was numbers. So we actually walked around with a card. It was a laminated card which had the script.
Yeah.
The script and the format in which we had to deal with the customer. So we'd go to door knocking, and the next step after door knocking, once they accepted a demo, we call it. Like demos where we come and demonstrate how the actual vacuum machine works.
Yeah.
2-hour demo.
Dang.
We've got a script for that. 2 hours. Take them through the whole 2 hours, and then at the end we do all these sales techniques on them.
Yeah.
We even call a third party, which is our boss, who's waiting to make that phone call and put more pressure on the customer to buy it. But for me, I guess I wanted to make a sale every time because I didn't want to waste my time not making a sale.
That's 2 hours. Man, that's so much work. It's a lot of work. Not knowing that you're gonna get
A lot of work went into it. So the fact that they were happy enough to get the demo, I was like, man, I need to close every demo. I didn't even think about the numbers that the company had for me to close. I just wanted to close everything. And I learned a lot because I used a lot of sales pressure, which didn't work out in my favor most of the time. Sometimes I get kicked out of the house.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? I just told you this, and you're telling me that.
Yeah.
So I tried to overpower them with my sales script when they already told me some information about things they need and want, and the reasons why they can't do it right now because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
But I still came over the top with my sales script.
Yeah.
So
which was kind of like a blanket approach. Right.
blanket approach, and it was ultimately the reason I got out in the end, because I was selling to Pasifika people who couldn't afford this vacuum, this $4,500 vacuum.
Damn.
So I got the guilt in the end. I was like, man, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
This is not right. That feeling in me during my demos where I know they can't afford it, I look around and they're really trying their best to support me because they see a fellow Pasifika person.
Yeah. It would be like a sympathy sale.
Exactly. And I hated that. I hated leaving a property after selling a vacuum machine. I loved the commissions, but I hated the feeling of that wasn't ethically right, mate.
Mm,
Well, what are you doing? Are you going to keep doing that to our people?
yeah,
You're going to keep selling something they told you they couldn't afford,
yeah.
and they still bought it anyway out of sympathy for you? I thought, nah, not now. I'm going to go find something else. Surely there's other things I can sell. So I got out. I was very successful in that short time that I was there, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that, I was making money off vulnerable communities like our own.
Oh,
And I kept that quiet from my mum and dad
yeah.
because I was ashamed.
Mm,
I was so ashamed to even have that conversation with them. So I know exactly what they would have said.
mm.
They would have been, what the hell are you doing? So disappointed in you.
Yeah, well, actually, that makes me want to ask you about like how has your Samoan culture shaped how you and influenced your career? Because obviously, we're quite prideful around and like what I was mentioning before about tautua and
Mhm.
service. Obviously, doing those sort of those sales pitches and stuff, you felt ethically obliged to opt out of that. Well, how has kind of some of those values in your culture influenced how you your career?
Oh, my Samoan heritage has played a huge role with me, with whatever I do. Um, just the basic principles of, tautua,
Mm,
that saying, "Ole ala le pule o tautua," it rings true for me in every part of my life. Because, and that's another thing my parents taught me. Through service comes leadership or pathways to leadership. So I know that if I serve a community, I'll get the fruits of that labor back later on. May not be straight away. Sometime down the track, I will need that help and it'll come back.
mm,
So I truly do believe that, the blessings that come into your life, you did something to attract that
yeah.
previously.
Course. It's about what it says in the Bible, right? Sowing seeds, right?
Absolutely.
God only knows how many fruit is bared from those seeds, but the more you plant, it multiplies, right? And so I think what were some of those things around you being able to serve and sow those seeds into the community and your work? Do you have any stories around that or key moments in your
Yeah. So a lot of that comes from my mentorship and coaching.
mm,
So I've done a lot of coaching and mentoring of people based abroad and here in New Zealand
oh,
who've sought after my services for sales help. And a lot of the tour comes from me really getting to know what it is that they need.
mm,
And once I figure that out through conversations like this that
yeah,
we're having right now, I'll find out, okay, what's important to you? What are some deal breakers for you? What are some non-negotiables? What are some things that you value? What are your actual goals? Where do you want to go to over there from where you are over here? And what does that gap look like? And can I see myself in that gap helping you get there each step of the way? If I can't see myself in that gap, I'll tell you straight away and I'll tell you who can. I won't just tell you, no, I can't help you.
mm,
I'll be like, mate, let's see who can help you. Try and be like, there's some organizations out there who I won't name who um, it's their role in the communities that they serve to be that connector,
yes,
right? You know where I'm going with that. They, they actually do that. And that's the kind of thing that I like to do for individuals who sort my services. And I think that's something that's definitely needed because Pasifika people, especially, we're so humble that we let that humility block us from our own success. And the reason why I say that is because there are moments where we need to make decisions or we need to make a move and take action, but we're blocked by our own humility because we tell ourselves, I don't belong there.
mm,
I have no business venturing into that realm. I have no business going after that big goal.
imposter syndrome.
Yeah, imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So once I help someone get through the imposter syndrome and let them know it's already in you, that success, that path, that journey, all those goals, all the ability is already in you from your previous experience through the world wanting to help you out, through your church community, through your
yeah,
beliefs. It's already in you. So just go after it.
yeah.
Whatever it is that you want, make sure that your passions in your life are leveraged to help communities that you serve.
Yeah.
So, and I'm constantly telling people, I'm constantly telling them, look, don't stop yourself with your internal tapes. Those internal tapes were drilled into us as when we were kids growing up through different areas, not just our own families, but different voices were telling us, like teachers and things like that, even friends. Things like money doesn't bring you happiness.
Yeah.
Little sayings like that, money doesn't bring you happiness, or money doesn't make you happy, or things like that. It's only said because the person saying it has their own experience with it. And so they're trying to put that onto you as a reality, but it's not necessarily your reality.
Yeah.
It's just they're portraying what's happened to them onto you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to take it for gospel, but take your own experiences and take the good from other people's experiences, learn from their stories, and apply what's good in those stories that you see to yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so don't always believe what people tell you when, they make it sound like it's gospel. It's the real thing. It's what's going to happen. It's fact.
It's really important, eh? Like a lot of I'm not too sure if told you, bro. I'm like 7 weeks in as a full-time entrepreneur now. I've gone all in,
Yeah.
and a part of imposter syndrome has been a common theme with a lot of the guests that have it's literally been a section of the podcast where we've always talked about, and as I keep reflecting with the conversations I've been having, it's always the battle of the 2 inches over here. And like given your line of work and working with people and unlocking their potential, what has been the key things that you've seen that kind of flicks the switch for people? Like, is there like a moment of like once you get that person to that realization that actually everything you have is in here, you just need to believe in yourself? Because that's like when we look at the world nowadays, right? Or slammed by marketing, or slammed by what is the ideal body, what you should consume, what is the brand you should wear. You should wear the RTS brand, by the way. But like, what have been some of those skills and tactics that you've been able to unlock for others in your journey to help them realize that? Because that's a big thing, especially with Pacific. Eric?
That's such an important question, actually, because I come across it all the time when I am coaching people.
Yeah, of course.
And most of the people I coach, at some point in their lives, like yourself, they have reached a moment where they've said to themselves, I'm an imposter. What am I doing here? Why am I in this space that I've chosen? And the way I help them get out of it, I don't tell them what to do. They realize it themselves. And because for me, especially when it comes to sales, I live by a set of rules. And one of those rules in this kind of a scenario is the customer is always going to believe their own data before they ever believe yours as a salesperson. So if you can help them arrive at that data in their mind to verbalize it, then they'll believe it because it came out of their mouth, came out of their mind. So in this instance, when it comes to helping people get over imposter syndrome and things like that, I normally say, look, just look at what everyone else is doing in the space that you're choosing to pursue. Look at what all the people who haven't reached that pinnacle yet, who haven't reached that level of thought leader in their space yet, look at what they're doing and do the exact opposite.
Wow.
So that's what I tell them to do. Do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Because chances are, if you're doing exactly the same as what everyone else is doing, you're now in what we call the rat race.
Wow.
And the rat race is basically everyone they've got a common goal.
Yeah.
But they've all gone through the front door.
Yeah.
Go through the side door.
Yeah.
There's a side door.
Yeah.
Go through that.
Wow.
Right? Do the opposite. So do the opposite is basically, and the reason why I give this advice is because I learned it from others. I learned it from other sales gurus and mentors that I've had. And the whole idea behind it is by going the other way or by going the opposite direction or doing something that's totally different, which is,
Going
for me,
against the status quo.
it's basically a pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
Right? You're interrupting the pattern that everyone else is taking. Or you're going down the road less traveled. You're blazing your own trail. And the reason why I give this as the bit of advice is because by doing that, by going the opposite direction, you're basically saying to not only the people who've all gone in the same direction towards that path, but you're also saying to yourself, I'm willing to take a risk. I'm willing to stick my neck out for myself. And if I do it and I fail, there's still that common path that everyone else has got to that I can fall on.
Yeah.
So the rule in this instance for me is it's a preparation rule. Sure, go down that road, but don't go with, don't go blind.
Yeah. Yes.
Obviously prepare, right? So I've shared this before on other podcasts that I've been invited to. The 6 Ps.
Mm.
It's basically proper preparation prevents piss poor performance, right? So basically all that means is you don't want to have the typical rise to the occasion approach all the time like everyone else will rise to the occasion, right? You've come to that grand final at Eden Park and you're starting and people are leaning on you to really do your job on that day and really dominate your opponent. You don't want to just rise to the occasion. All those weeks leading up to that grand final, you're supposed to have prepared, right? You're supposed to have prepared your body, prepared your mind, prepared yourself. And the reason why I say don't just rise to the occasion, you basically want to take the approach of falling to your highest level of preparation. But basically it means you've done all the prep.
Yeah.
You'd rather come from a standpoint of I'm falling to my highest level of preparation because my highest level of preparation means that this game that I'm playing, grand final at Eden Park, I've already prepared for. That's an easy part of my journey, right? Now, that game at Eden Park is easy for me because I've done all the prep leading up to it, the semi, the quarters, and the season, the regular season. I've prepared my body, I've prepared my mind, and I've prepared for this during this week of the grand final. I've prepared mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever. And now I'm at a point where it's game day. I've done all the prep. So I'm not nervous. Well, you are nervous. You still get the nerves. But I'm not,
It's clockwork.
I'm not treating it as if I have to rise to the occasion. I have to motivate myself or inspire myself by watching a Gladiator movie or something like that, I'm already prepared. I'm prepped for it. Whatever comes now. It's now down to, on the day, between the two teams, who takes their chances the best. That was a direct quote from Jerry Collins, the late, great Jerry Collins. It's not who deserves to win. It is in a way, because you've done the most prep, right? It's now that you've done the most prep, who's going to take their chances the best on the day? What decisions or calls during the day are we going to make as a team that are going to lead to victory? So that's the kind of approach I get people to take when I'm coaching them. I want them to think differently.
Yeah.
I want them to not just think the normal spiel that people will give them, but I want them to think, man, don't just rise to the occasion. Fall to your highest level of preparation.
Oh.
That came from Chris Voss, who's a master negotiator. He's a former FBI hostage negotiator.
Oh.
He's got a book called Never Split the Difference. I think is really key when, especially for our people, we can take parts of that book for our own everyday lives and negotiations in the boardroom, when we're trying to negotiate a higher salary, when we're trying to negotiate a better package, when we move to a new job, when we're trying to renegotiate a package. See, Chris Voss is great for our people if we want to learn how to really have our way, but give the illusion of control to our counterpart. We say counterpart instead of adversary because adversary is more combative. Counterpart is collaborative. And for Pasifika, we warm to collaboration because it's normal. It's natural for us. When it comes to the combat side, it's only natural to those who've had 100 drinks. you know?
Yeah.
So, collaboration for me is a key part of my life as well. I take collaboration into everything. I want win-win situations. I don't want me to win, the other side not. Because if I win an interaction with you today, it means there is no chance for a long, sustainable relationship between us. It means that somewhere down the track, if I keep doing this to you, where I get discounts from you, where I get everything from you for nothing from me, at some point, you're going to be like, I don't want to work with this guy. I'm going to start giving him a bad service, or I'm going to start cutting corners. And I don't want you to cut corners. I want quality. So I'm willing to pay for quality. So it's just a matter of us being able to articulate our value in the conversations that we have, what we bring to the table.
But yeah, I guess it's that's a lot of things I've been learning about in business, right? Like providing that value, the seeds that you're sowing, right? And then like value, showing value to that person that you're providing a service to. Bro, I just wanted to go back a little bit, and you talked about like doing the complete opposite and being I guess changing direction. Was there a moment in your journey where you were like, okay, I'm gonna do something different, and I want to change direction, and this is how this is where I'm gonna go, or whether it was a success or a learning for you. What do you have a moment in time in your journey that
Yeah, I did. There's twice. So one was when I was studying,
yeah.
uh, studying towards a career in electrotechnology, and then pivoting to sales and thinking sales is it. So sales became a big part. And then the second part was when I was chasing a rugby career, right?
Yeah.
As you do when you got a bit of rugby skill, chasing a rugby career path, and then at some point having to have that hard word with myself, like, mate, you're not in a good position right now to go further in your rugby career. You need to start thinking about the next chapter in your life. Once you're done fooling yourself with all this rugby, what's the next pathway look like? What's the next chapter look like? And how are you setting yourself up today to make sure that once you're done with rugby, is that to help you look after your family? So that's when I decided, okay, am I going to make a real go of this sales thing? Or am I going to chase this different industry? What am I going to do? So this was in the UK when this happened. I was in the UK. I was in the twilight years of my career. I thought to myself, you know what? You can still keep playing for chump change, or you can set yourself up whilst you're over here in the UK,
Yeah. Wow.
so that when you get back to New Zealand, you're on a pathway, you're on a journey that is going to be sustainable. And for me, that journey was business development and corporate sales. So I moved from predominantly B2B sales conversations and B2B sales roles to B2C, sorry, which is business to consumer, where the Kirby vacuums come in. And then moving to B2B, which is business to business. So selling business products and business solutions to other businesses. It wasn't until I saw the value in that in 2011, 2010, that the penny dropped. And I said to myself, okay, go all in. Go all in on that and make that your career path, because later on down the track, you'll be able to coach like you've always wanted to.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was selling Kirby's and I needed guidance, I needed influence, I needed motivation, I needed a familiar face to look to, a mentor. I didn't have that.
Wow.
So I was in this world that was foreign to me, right? Just like our parents when they came from the islands. I was in this world that was foreign to me, and I had to navigate my own way. So fast forward another however many years, where I'm now in the B2B space, thinking, okay, I need to make a good go of this, so that later on I can be that. I've always had it in the back of my mind, you're going to be that Pasifika person that was missing for you at the beginning,
100%.
right? That was the whole reason why I've stuck with sales all this time, because I had a problem at the beginning. and I need to solve it now in these years that I'm in sales now. And I feel like I'm finally becoming, or already am, that sales voice for our Pasifika people. So I'm trying to position myself, not in an arrogant way, but position myself as, someone that can be called upon by the younger generation, or the generation who have started a business, have got into a startup company, who've got into a sales role, junior sales role, and they don't know how to navigate their way around. They don't know what the next steps look like in their career path. They don't know what to look out for. They don't know what to avoid. I can help them with that now, right? So that's what I've been positioning myself as the Pasifika voice. One of many, of course. I'm not trying to be the only, not trying to be a gatekeeper of the industry, but just trying to let it be known that I'm the guy that I was missing in the beginning of my career. I'm now that guy, so I'm now solving that problem.
That's awesome, bro. And I think that's why I have naturally gravitated towards you, and like always seeing you in functions, and we've crossed paths. And as you're saying that, I wanted to ask, so if you were to tell Joey, at the start of the career, if you were able to give him some advice, what would you tell him?
Find a mentor. Find a mentor straight away.
Yep.
Stop being humble. Stop being modest. Find a mentor. Find someone who's already doing well in that space, whether it be Pacific Islander or someone who's not Pacific Islander. Doesn't matter. Find a mentor. Really learn from them. Learn the mistakes as well as the pathway to success, because success leaves clues, right?
Mm.
So find out what you need to find out to be a success in that space.
So like, so I'm at a crossroads at the moment. I know that. I know I need to find a mentor. But what does a mentor relationship like look like in that setting? Like, I do have many business owners that I look up to. I'm fortunate enough to grow up with parents that are entrepreneurs, and know a lot of entrepreneurs. But what does a like how intimate does that relationship be with the upcoming inspiring entrepreneur, I'd like to say myself, with that mentor? What sort of relationship? Because I think at the moment I don't have the I could pick up the phone and be like, "Oh man, I got this problem." So, like, from your experience, what does that mentor relationship look like? It should sound like. I guess that's advice for me.
Yeah, no, that's a really important question. And look, I think what it looks like is, first of all, it's got to be someone who's done well in this space, done well enough to be able to give you advice, whether it be good or bad. Someone who you trust as a voice in that space that they're in. It may not even necessarily be the space that you're chasing, but they can still be a mentor in a capacity of success where they're sharing their knowledge, they're imparting their knowledge on you, they're giving you insights. And not forgetting that insight to me is information beyond the obvious.
Yeah.
Right? Insights are so key
Yeah,
because you've got AI now.
yeah,
AI can answer pretty much any question you have
Mm.
out there. But insights are lived experiences that can be shared with you by a mentor.
Mm.
So, what a mentor looks like for me, for instance, I've never had personal relationships with them. I've never met them face to face.
Well,
It's always been on the phone, video,
yeah,
online. My mentors are based in other countries,
yeah,
unfortunately, in those spaces.
yeah.
The only mentors that I've had any personal relationship with, mum and dad,
Mm.
because all the others, all the Pasifika business leaders, I'm still learning from. So I can't pinpoint which one yet
Mm.
I want as a mentor. I still do look up to a lot of Pasifika business leaders, and there are a lot out there. We just need to figure out which ones resonate with us the
Yeah.
best, which ones are the most relevant. I'm big on hyper relevance. So making sure that whoever you choose as your mentor is hyper relevant to whatever it is you're passionate about. Let's say you're passionate about rugby and you're looking for a mentor in rugby. I remember wanting to reach out to rugby All Blacks back in the days for certain positions I was playing, hooker or prop. but I didn't have any reach. I didn't have who knew them because they were just too out of reach. So make sure that you can reach your mentors through other people or whatever. Just try and reach them
Yeah.
through the different channels that you can reach them at, whether it be online, through a DM,
Yeah.
or whatever. You'll find that most of the successful people out there who you look at as a mentor, it won't take much when you ask them. When you do make that ask, it won't take much. They will jump at the chance
Wow.
because they see a little bit of themselves in you.
Mm.
When they first went on their journey, their path, who was their mentor? And how hard was it for them to reach out to their mentor? They want to make it easy for you. So as long as you frame it in a way that's not, I want to pick your brain, I want to catch up for a coffee, because everyone does that,
Yeah.
right? You know how I said, go the opposite way?
Oops.
Go the opposite way.
Yeah.
If you are going to say, I need to pick your brain or catch up for a coffee, that's great. But make sure that the other person that you're saying it to doesn't think it's disingenuous.
Yeah.
Just because everyone else has been asking them the same thing. That's all.
Mm.
But ask it in a way of, I want to ask your advice. When you say that to a potential mentor, they will pull all the stops to come and give you that advice,
Mm.
no matter what it is that you're looking for.
Mm.
Because they feel like they're adding value to it. It's kind of similar to funding.
Mm.
And the reason why I say funding is because I've seen a lot of organizations ask for funding off funding organizations. Foundation North, you named earlier. That's not an example in this situation, but what I do know of funders is that they don't want to give small amounts of funding to folks. They want you to ask for an impactful amount, an amount that's going to make them go, yes, this is going to impact a community or an organization
Mm.
to do great work. So don't come asking for $100 when 10,000 is what we can provide,
Mm.
right?
Wow.
So a lot of funders will say that. They will say, people don't ask for enough.
Yeah.
So we have to turn them away
Mm.
because they're asking for too little.
Mm.
And the same goes for corporates, individuals, business owners and things. If you approach them with a proposal, or if you approach them for funding, don't slap them in the face by asking for too little because they want to help and they don't feel like they can make an impact on your organization or your idea if you're asking for far too little. I know it will take a lot of people a long time to realize what I mean by this, but you have to ask for an impactful amount,
Wow.
an amount that's going to make an impact. Because the person funding that amount, they want to know, where's my money going? Is it going to make a difference to this person that,
Yeah.
it's going to?
Yeah, that's gold, bro. I learned so much through there, and I think finding a mentor is really important. It's like it can be a lonely road being an entrepreneur. Like and I guess I'll take some of those tips that you shared. But bro, as we wrap up the last bit of our Talanoa today, kind of asked the earlier question, but I guess lastly, what's a legacy that you would like to leave behind or to flip that question, what's something that you want to be remembered by as Joey?
I want to be, like, I think it's a vanity metric to want to leave something behind.
Yeah.
But
What do you mean by that?
I do get it.
What do you mean?
Basically what I mean by that is it's ego-led of individuals
Well,
to feel like they need to leave a legacy,
yeah.
right? I'm more about what am I doing while I'm here on earth rather than what I want to be remembered as. Sure, you will remember me as something.
Yeah.
I want to be remembered as a GC,
Yeah.
right?
Love that, bro.
So I don't necessarily conform to those kind of ideas, but at the same time, I get it. And the legacy I do want to leave behind is a legacy of empowerment for our people, Pasifika. I've got my own legacy that I want to leave for my family, for my daughter. But I also have a legacy of empowerment for our people, for Pasifika businesses, for Pasifika leaders. I want them to be empowered to use the values that they've learned in their lives through their heritage, whether it be Samoan, Tongan, Tokelau, and Niue, and whatever. I want them to use those values. I want them to be resilient like their parents told them, like my parents told me, I want them to leverage partnerships because we're great at forming partnerships. We're great at showing respect to our elders. Use that. Use that to empower yourselves and don't get in your own way. Don't listen to those internal tapes that keep running through our minds. Those internal tapes that say you don't belong here. You're not an imposter.
Oh.
It's actually in you.
Mm.
Everything you want and the ability you have to get there is in you. It's already been written.
Mm.
So go after it.
Wow.
Don't let anything hold you back.
Awesome, bro. Man, I felt like you're talking to me a lot throughout that conversation, bro. And I'd just like to thank you for your time today. I think that's all we've got time for, but I feel like if we had time, we could just continue to
Yeah.
brain. And I appreciate all the times I have engaged with you. I think like I'm learning more and more. I feel like you got that gravitational force about you, Joey. So appreciate your time today, bro. And wish you all the best.
Love what you're doing, brother.
Siki.